This is a review over the whole unit. First, we're going to convert 150 degrees to radians. So 150 degrees, you multiply it by pi over 180 degrees. The degrees cancels out with degrees, 0 cancels with 0. This can be simplified to 5 pi over 6. I divided 15 and 18 both by 3. Here we have negative 60 degrees multiplied by pi over 180 degrees. This simplifies to pi over 3, and make sure it's negative because this is a negative degree. Now we're going to convert the radian to degrees. So I have 7 pi over 12. I'm going to multiply by 180 degrees over pi so that the pi's can cancel out. 7 times 180 divided by 12 is 105 degrees. This one, I have 5 pi over 3, multiply it by 180 degrees divided by pi. The pi's cancel out. 180 times 5 divided by 3 is 300 degrees. Now we're going to find two coterminal angles, one positive and one negative. So for example, 11 pi over 6 is right here. If I want a coterminal angle, that means I'm going to do a complete lap and end up at the same location, the same degree. So if I add a full circle, that will give me the positive coterminal angle. And then if I go the other direction, subtract a circle, I'll end up in the same spot and it'll be a negative. So that's what we're going to do. I have 11 pi over 6 and I'm going to add a full circle. 2 pi is a full circle. Now you need to make sure the denominators are the same. So 6 times 2, that is 12. 11 plus 12 is 23. Pi over 6. So that is my positive coterminal angle. Now I'm going to subtract and get my negative coterminal angle. 11 pi minus 12 pi is negative pi over 6. Now it is in degrees. So I have negative 105 degrees. If I add 360 degrees, because 360 is a full circle, you get 255 degrees. So I did negative 105 degrees plus a full circle. You'll end up in the same spot and you get 255. Then you do the exact same thing, but you subtract a circle this time. So negative 105 minus 360 is negative 465 degrees. Now we're going to find the reference angle. So a reference angle negative 3 pi over 4 is right here. The reference angle means how far away is it from the x-axis. So what is this distance? It's always going to be positive and it's going to match an angle that's in the first quadrant, okay? So the distance from negative 3 pi over 4 to negative pi, because we went this way, negative 3 pi over 4 is right here. So the distance between negative 3 pi over 4 and negative pi, you can think of this as negative 180 degrees, and you can think of this angle as negative 135 degrees. So what is that distance? So what you're going to do is 180 minus 135 is 45 degrees. So this is a 45 degree difference right here. However, if you did it in radians, pi minus 3 pi over 4, get the same denominator, and you get pi over 4. Pi over 4 is the same thing as 45 degrees. So since my answer was in radians, I'm going to put since my question was in radians, I'll put my answer in radians. Here, 124 degrees is about right here somewhere. How far away is that from the x-axis? How far away is that? So I'm going to do 180 minus 124, and I get 56 degrees. This angle, your reference angle, is always going to be between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So this was 56 degrees. So they both have the same distance away from the x-axis. 124 degrees is 56 degrees away from 180, and 56 degrees is 56 degrees away from the x-axis at 0. Okay, now we're going to find the length of the arc. Find the length of the arc on a circle with a radius of 9, and the central angle is this right here. So basically you have a circle and your radius is 9 feet, and the central angle, I'll just make up an angle, is 7 pi over 18. And you want to find this arc length right here. Well, the formula for arc length is the radius times the angle. And this angle needs to be in radians, and it's already in radians. So just multiply these two numbers together. The radius is 9, and your angle is 7 pi over 18. This simplifies to 9 times 7 is 63 over 18. This simplifies to 7 over 2 with the pi. Okay, next one. Find the angle when your radius is 9 and your arc length is 4. S stands for arc length. So the formula is arc length is equal to the radius times the angle. So let's replace what they gave us. The radius, they said, was 9. The arc length, they said, is 4. So solve for the angle. Divide both sides by 9. So your angle is 4/9. Okay, so find the exact values of the 6 trigonometric functions. So I have this angle right here. I need to find this missing leg. So I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem first to find this missing side. So I know that 5 squared plus this missing side squared is equal to 6 squared. So this is 25 plus x squared equals 36. You're going to subtract 25 from both sides. So you get x squared is equal to 11. Then you take the square root of both sides. So x is equal to the square root of 11. So this is equal to the square root of 11. So sine, I'll write SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. So opposite is 5, the hypotenuse is 6. Cosine is adjacent over the hypotenuse. This is the adjacent side, and your hypotenuse is 6. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Opposite is 5, your adjacent is square root of 11. However, you cannot leave a square root in the denominator. So multiply by a ratio of 1. This becomes 5 square root of 11 over a square root multiplied by itself is just the number underneath the square root. So this is tangent. And then for the rest, you just have to flip them. So for cosecant, that is the inverse of sine. So this is 6 over 5. Flip this, so this will be 6 over square root of 11. And remember, you cannot leave square roots in the denominator. So this is 6 square root of 11 over 11. And then cotangent, you can flip this original one, and you get square root of 11 over 5. Okay, so we know that sine is positive, but secant is negative. And if secant is negative, that means cosine is also negative, because all you do is just flip them, right? So let's look at this previous example. If secant is negative, so let's say this is negative, that means this is negative too, because all you did was flip it, so they have to have the same sign. Secant and cosine, they go together. So if this is negative, that means this is negative. If this is positive, that means this is positive. So I know that sine is positive, and cosine is negative. So that only happens in the second quadrant. because cosine is associated with x values, sine is associated with y values. So the x-axis right here is negative, and the y value is positive, okay? So here's your angle. It says sine is 8/17. That's opposite over the hypotenuse. So this has to be 8, and this is your hypotenuse. So let's find this missing side right here. So I'm gonna do this missing side right here plus 8 squared is equal to 17 squared. So 8 squared is 64. And 17 squared is 289. Then you're going to subtract both sides by 64. So you get x squared is equal to 289 minus 64 is 225. And then you can square root both sides. So you get x is equal to 15. So this is 15. However, I know it has to be a negative 15 because cosine is negative, and you went to the left. So this is your triangle, okay? And it works because when you plug negative 15 in right here, negative 15 squared is a positive 225. And that's the equation. Okay, anyway, this is your triangle, and now we want to find the exact value of tan. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So tangent is opposite over the adjacent. Okay, so we have propellers. The propellers on an average freighter have a radius of 4 feet. At full throttle, the propellers turn at, okay, so let's do this problem. The key word right here is the propellers turn at 150 RPMs. That stands for revolutions per minute. Okay, so let's look at the first question. It says, what is the angular speed of the propeller? They already gave you the answer. Angular speed is equal to the angle over time. And that's what we have. We have angle, which is the revolutions, how many laps it does around a circle per minute. So we have angle per time. Angle per time. So we have the answer already. 150 revolutions per minute. That's what they gave us in the problem. However, the only thing is they want us to put it in radians, not revs. So let me change the revs to radians. 1 revolution around the circle is the same as 2 pi. So this is what I'm multiplying by to get rid of revs and make it radians. And then they say per second. I have minutes, so let's get rid of minutes. In 1 minute, there are 60 seconds. This minute cancels out with this minute. So all you have to do is just multiply across. So 150 times 2 divided by 60 is 5. And don't forget the pi. So this is equal to 5 pi over seconds. That's all you have in the denominator is seconds. And you have pi in the numerator, so I just put that there. I kept it in terms of pi. So this is your answer, 5 pi over seconds. That's your angle over time. That's angular speed. Okay, next part. What is the linear speed? Linear speed is given by this formula. It wants the radius times, look, the angular speed, which we just found. We said the angular speed was 5 pi over seconds. Okay, and the radius, let's go back to the problem and find what the radius is. It says the radius is 4 feet, so I'll type that in. Okay, so this is my answer. However, the question wants it in inches. I have feet. So to cancel out feet, I'm gonna put it in the denominator. In 1 foot, there's 12 inches. So feet will cancel out with feet, and I'm in inches like the problem wanted me to be. And then I want seconds. It's already in seconds, so we're good. 4 times 5 is 20, times 12 is 240 inches per second. So that's my answer, 240 inches per second. All right, next one. Okay, so I'll let you look at the problem. So here is your little tower here, and you are on the ground. You're 47.3 meters away, and you have to look up at an angle of 53 degrees, look at the top. So here's the top right here, and this is the angle you're looking up, so this is 53 degrees. All right, so this is the diagram, and it wants to know how tall is the silo. So how tall is it? I want to know this side. Okay, so if we solve it, I have the opposite over the adjacent. That's tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So tangent of this angle is opposite, which I don't know, over the adjacent, 47.3. So I have to multiply both sides by this denominator. This is being divided by 47.3, so the opposite would be to multiply by 47.3. So I'm going to type this into my calculator and get the answer. 47.3, hit the trig button, go to tangent, and type in 53. Okay, that's my answer. So you get 62 point, and they said round to 2 decimal places, so 77. And this is in meters. That's how tall the tower is. All right, next problem. Okay, so it looks like there's a dormant volcano, and the peak forms an angle with the beach. Okay, and this mountain is 10,000 feet tall, and the peak forms an angle with the beach. So this is 18.43 degrees. And it wants to know how far would you have to walk up the side of the volcano to get to the peak. So this is opposite over the hypotenuse. That's sine. Sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. So sine of this angle, 18.43 degrees, is equal to opposite, which is 10,000 feet, over the hypotenuse, which is x. So this is being divided by x, so the opposite is to multiply by x. Okay, so this is what I have. X sine of 18.43 degrees is equal to 10,000. Now, to get x by itself, divide both sides by sine of 43 degrees. So that cancels out, and divide this side by sine of 43 degrees. So this is what you're going to type into your calculator. So you go to control divide. Control divide, okay, so it gets you the fraction. Put 10,000 in the numerator, and then hit the trig button right here. Go to sine, hit OK, and then 43, and hit enter. That's your answer. So you are going to have to walk 14,662 points, and let me show you. It looks like it rounded it for me. So go up to it, highlight it, and hit enter. And that's the full number. So if I round to 2 decimal places, it'll be 79.79 feet. And that's it.